What is an entrepreneur? For me, it's someone like this member, Reese Harris, an entrepreneur who works within a large organisation and has now spun out into his own business. Also, like our first guest, he was brought up on a farm. Come on, Reese, let's get going. Hey everyone, welcome back to Work This Way. Today we are in Wandsworth, Foundry Wandsworth, SW18, London. We're joined with Reese Harris, one of our ambassadors and fantastic members in our new flagship scheme. Reese, introduce yourself.
My name is Reese. I run an email marketing agency called Fixate, based in London for on and off for the last 4 or 5 years, with a bit of travel in between.
Tell us a bit about where you're from.
Grew up on a farm. My dad was a dairy farmer, a long way from London. But I grew up in Oxfordshire on the farm, went to university, started freelancing out of university, which was down in Kent. Lived in Brighton for 5 years, offered a job in London just as COVID was starting, so 2020. And that job essentially changed my life quite dramatically.
Reese, you grew up on a dairy farm. Not something you want to pursue? Your father's footsteps?
No, it wasn't, although I did spend a lot of time on the farm. My strongest memories from back in the farm days is obviously my dad taking me out there, but he used to sheepdog trial. So we would travel around the country. At one point we had 13 dogs. We would go up and down the country to different sheepdog trials.
Reese, how did you go from shepherding, helping your dad on a dairy farm, to becoming a brilliant marketeer? What was the moment?
A pivotal shift was at university. 6 weeks into a history degree, I became disillusioned. This isn't what I'm going to do. This doesn't make a difference in my future. So I sold myself to the head of computer science, thinking, who is this from a humanities subject trying to get into my technical course? I had developed a basic zombie game when I was in my teens,
Right.
Showed him that, also just pitched myself as someone who would be able to get through it, and was able to switch. So I moved into computer science. Now, that was so hard, and I scraped a 2-1, so I was lucky to get a degree. Coming out of that, I went into freelancing. I didn't know necessarily about marketing. I was more focused on the flexibility of lifestyle, as in, cool, I can make websites for people, I can be on the go, I can be where I want. I always knew I could sell to people, and I had a good intuition with people. So when it came to be offered a job in marketing, I was like, I can do this.
Why Brighton?
I had a girlfriend who moved there. I also used to play Ultimate Frisbee.
Oh,
That was my uni sport. Brighton was very good at that. I had a big group of people there already, so it was very familiar to me. And a very open place, great vibe, people were very friendly. So I was like, hey, I'll go down there.
Reese, you spoke about your time on the farm with your dad
Mhm.
and shepherding 12, 13 sheepdogs. Do you find now, as you're building your own business, running your own company, are there bits that you reflect on time with your dad that you lean on now, those learnings?
If I look back to my childhood with my mum and my dad together, dad was a dairy farmer, my mum's worked in a salon that amazingly she now owns, which is awesome. I actually spent a lot of my post-18 years trying to do as little work as possible for the most flexibility, the most freedom, as in location independence, trying to make as much money as I could with working 2-3 hours a day. My dad, when you're working on a farm, what you feel doesn't matter. You have to get up at 3 a.m. to go look after the cows, feed them, and make sure they're in check. So that, I'll never forget my dad having to do that. And my mum now, she's worked in salons her whole life, and she now owns the one that she has worked in previously, which is, again, so proud, and has to run a team and has to handle things happening in their lives. Both of them have always worked extremely hard, and I wish I'd been more cognizant of that when I was younger. Now I'd appreciate it.
Reese, let's get stuck into Fixate. Tell us, roll back, when did you found it and what was the story to the founding of?
My co-founder is Charlie Terry. He runs Seek Marketing, and Fixate is a sister agency to Seek. Essentially, we are specialist in CRM marketing, whether that's email, SMS, WhatsApp, whereas Seek specializes in other channels.
Seek at Omni, your specialist,
Yeah.
with an eye on retention. Can you give us an example of a case study of the type of work you do for our listeners and for me? Because I'm thinking already that we've got members that could definitely do with your help.
Delicious is one of our favorite brands. It's a plant-based brand. Essentially, they are a part retail brand. And also there is a Delicious membership, which is on an app where you can access thousands of recipes, wellness classes, exercise routines, meal planning, etc. Tons of stuff on the app. And I'm sure people have seen Delicious products in the supermarket as well. So we focus on email marketing with Delicious. So there's two main sides to it. You've got the e-commerce side, so deliciousyella.com is an e-commerce website, so you can go on there and buy the products directly. And so that is more of a typical e-commerce setup from a CRM marketing perspective. So you will have been on a website before and it pops up and says, hey, get 10% off if you sign up, and then you will go into a series of emails. So that's what we call a welcome flow. We set up those core automations. So your welcome flow, you have your abandoned cart flow, and automations like that, they're essentially there to collect revenue and also nurture people to a certain destination, which also for Delicious Yellow, and this is the second point on the membership side, is to drive people to become new members. So that's where a lot of our work is focused. Revenue generation is great and necessary for brands, but your CRM, that database is full of humans, and you have a product, whether it's the retail side or whether it's the membership side, you have a product that is going to be in the hands of a human being. We leverage the CRM to send emails directly to people to find out what they love about it, what they don't like about it, what they're looking for in the future from it. We can actually collect really valuable information that we can then also leverage within the database. We can now target certain campaigns to those people. So you have these incredibly powerful automations you're building over time that essentially get the right message to the right person at the right time. That's the goal of what we do.
Reece, when you started at Seek, did you go in an entry-level position? You're just 30 and you're MD at Fixate. That's quite a trajectory. Talk us through that journey.
I'd have to take you back a year before I was offered the job at Seek in London when I was in Brighton. It was a mix of like freelancing, pub work, club promotion, but overall lifestyle, like very low. Up all night promoting on the streets, which I love Brighton, but it is dirty sometimes. Lots of drinking, smoking, very low point in my life. It reached a climax where I impulsively bought a ticket to Madrid, sleeping on friends' couches, being like, what have I just done in the last couple of years? Trying to get back into freelancing, I can build websites again. Contacted Charlie, who I'd freelanced before at Seek, did a few websites, great, came over Christmas, and he asked me to come into the office in London, and I was like, didn't know what it was about. Yeah, he stood across from me and was like, do you want to work here? It wasn't an interview or anything. He's just like, do you want the job? The job was to work in the SEO team. And I was like, yeah. He kind of helped bring myself out of that time in my life. And then I went, obviously COVID was happening, so there was logistical, we were all in different places at one point. But ultimately, those first 6 months at Seek, quit smoking, stopped all the drinking. I'm not sober, but I stopped what I was doing, got fit and healthy, and was then learning. And I can't explain to you the pace was so fast. Plus the mentorship from Charlie himself, who is running this marketing agency, I think understood my situation. He'd also been in nightlife before. I don't think didn't necessarily have the unhealthy lifestyle like I did, but definitely knew that world. Came from hospitality background. I was able to speak to me in a way I would understand. He definitely resonated. He built me up over the years, over those first few years there, taught me everything I know, both hard skills around marketing, but also client management, people management. So definitely owe a lot to Charlie. And essentially where we are today, we've now known each other for 8 years. And whilst I had a small departure from Seek to freelance and travel, we've always kept close contact.
Reece, you've went from a real funk,
Mm.
you know, out in Madrid, working nomadically, pandemic hits, you're working at Seek with Charlie. Charlie's recognised your potential. You're on a trajectory now, you co-found Fixate, put all that behind you. For me, what's really interesting about you is that in Foundry, we have many entrepreneurs. Clearly, you were entrepreneurial in a business.
Mm.
And I think from what I'm seeing and hearing is that Charlie recognized that early. And that's how you've progressed so quickly. You're talented. The entrepreneur piece is interesting for me because it should be inspiration for anyone listening within our network or any of our listeners that you can go to a managing director, an owner, a proprietor, a co-founder, a shareholder and say, listen, I've got an idea. Can we go for a coffee?
I remember the phone call. I was in a restaurant in a harbour on the West Coast. Stunning road trip. He drove 1,000 miles, couldn't get me on the insurance, up to Oregon. And I was sat working there for a month and sat in a restaurant and we had that phone call, Charlie and I. And you can imagine the energy on that call.
Yeah.
After all the years of working there, like all that stuff, to come to this conclusion with 100% conviction, this is a great project to start.
Must have been quite a moment for you. Reece, you're sat in a cafe in Oregon, you're having the call with Charlie. You're euphoric at this point because you've now co-founded a business.
Yes.
You're now an owner, no longer an employee, which is amazing at such a young age. Let's go back a little bit. How did the conversation start with Charlie and where did the concept for Fixate come from?
I read a book earlier this year. The essence of the book is that, sure, you see the Steve Irwins of the world that you're like, wow, that guy was passionate about this for his entire life. But you're sat there thinking, like, what's my thing? Like, why don't I have that? Well, those people exist, good for them. A lot of us, I believe, don't have that. Therefore, worry or can wonder, what's my thing? The essence of the book through research is that some of the most passionate people we do see are people that have excelled in their craft. They never saw that craft in the beginning and thought, yeah, this is it. Like the Steve Irwin reaction, it's like they just got really good over time and suddenly they're in flow state where they're enjoying it more. That really clicked with me. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to commit to marketing. This is it. I'm going all in. That was months before we had the conversation with Charlie. And so I went to work at Seek in 2020, focusing on SEO. I left to pivot into email marketing and retention. So I'd been doing it for a few years. And it was at that point, I was like, this is it. Like, I am going to master this over the next 10 to 20 years and beyond, potentially. So that being the case, and I was rolling with it and I was going with Neva. And Charlie was along with the ride to the degree of I was sharing those learnings with him.
Your story is great because you encapsulate for me his point about you've turned your life around, you're in a funk, and it's all in a relatively short period of time. We're talking 4 years, right? That is incredible, mate. Really incredible. And you've gone from being an employee to running your own business. And you've come out of, I'm imagining, a pretty bad place. Reece, is this who you've always been or a reflection of you resetting?
Direct reflection, yeah.
Yeah, that's massive. I've got a question around email marketing, AI marketing. Let's focus on email marketing initially. I'm a massive unsubscriber, which means I've subscribed to a lot of things. It's a little creepy. They seem to know a lot about me. Give us your take on that.
Email marketing is the only channel actually asking for your consent. It's one of the best channels because, hey, we're like, hey, do you want to receive this? You do? Great. We're going to send it to you. If you don't, cool, just let us know. We're going to stop. That's it. Ads, see them everywhere. So, oh yeah, sure, I can click. I don't want to see this, but I see ads all the time. I have very low control over that. I see those things. I could put the phone away. But we're moving to a world where we're going to start seeing ads more present through tech-enabled glasses. It's going to be very intrusive. Email marketing, you always have the ability to unsubscribe. And actually, as email marketers, in some cases, we actually want you to unsubscribe. If you genuinely don't want to receive emails, the best option from what we call a list health perspective is that you actually do come off the list. If you stay on and you never open the emails, that can damage deliverability. Your reputation in the eyes of Gmail, Yahoo, iCloud, because you keep sending to these people, they're not opening your emails. You might be spam. Oh, we're going to send more of your emails to spam. We never want that, right? We want the people that do want to receive the brand's emails to get them. Do I think it's invasive? No. As long as the brand's not doing anything shady, like trying to hide the unsubscribe button or genuinely just oversending. But no, I would disagree.
I get that. It's fascinating how email platforms can see that Adam hasn't opened an email from Gymshark for a while, and so marking them as spam. Has this got anything to do with AI? And how does AI make your business more efficient?
I love AI. You love AI. In the context of what we do, the wider what it's going to do to the world, no comment. But I was on a call yesterday with the CTO of one of our clients, and we were having a conversation about AI. And he said that people shouldn't be scared about losing their jobs. They should be scared about losing their jobs to someone who's using AI all the time. So we fully expect everyone in our team, as we build it out, to be using it, because it will mean we stay ahead of our competitors, but also it means that we're going to be able to do the best job for our brands that we work with. Like, we owe it to the people paying our monthly retainers to be the best we possibly can, and AI tools will bring that out. Now, certainly we use it when it comes to copywriting, either to get an initial draft on paper or to critique or make more succinct copy. So that's a lot of where we use it right now.
So what you're saying is AI is the sharpest tool in the toolbox.
Make us the sharpest tools.
What's next for Fixate?
We want to build a very lean team of, and when I say 18 players, I mean like assassins, like the best of the best, but as in 4 or 5 of us. The expectation is we're all strategists with an execution team available. We want to dominate the industry when it comes to retention marketing, CRM marketing. I expect it's going to take on the upper end of 3 to 5 years to find that really good mix of people. Fully remote agency, we're not bound necessarily by any particular geography. We think that there's obviously talent everywhere around the world, and we would love to access that. Plus, it'd be great for team meetups to once or twice a year to get everyone in the same place, of course. We're already working with some incredible brands, but to also build out the stature of brands over time, to really cement ourselves as the leaders in the industry. Typically, we do a lot of work with e-commerce, subscription-based businesses, health and wellness sector, pets as well, fashion and sport. So it's quite a mix at the moment, and I expect that will broaden over time. Ultimately, if you have a database, there's stuff we can do.
What do you do now to switch off from work? I assume you're not out and about every night like you were back in Brighton.
Training, I do high rocks, so most of the time training for that. It's a race. So you have 8 1-kilometer runs, but in between each run, you have a station where you have to do a certain movement. So it could be on a ski machine, you could be pushing a sled, you could be pulling the sled, and various others. And yeah, the aim is to race as fast as you can.
Shortest time wins.
Shortest time wins.
Reese, what would your advice or top tips be for members listening who are interested in email marketing?
The first thing I would say to pay attention to is try to avoid sending to your full list all the time. Maybe once or twice a year is fine, but we want to make sure we send to our most engaged subscribers most of the time. If we don't, we place ourselves at higher risk that inbox providers will see us as spammy.
Unsubscription is healthy.
For example, you can have a sunset automation which removes people from the list if they are unengaging or they're not engaged. The second tip I would offer is to start segmenting your audience as soon as you can. At entry points to the database, learn something, not a ton of information that's going to be a barrier for them to signing up, and we don't even get their email address or phone number, but something that at a very high level allows us to split our audience into 2 or 3 different cohorts. Marketing is ultimately all about testing. Sure, we all know our stuff, but everything is still a test. A lot of platforms we use have inbuilt testing functionality. We call it A/B testing. Now you can do A, B, C, D, and E testing, but most effective, you're comparing 2 versions of something. Now that can be across pop-ups, how you're collecting data, to campaigns or emails in a certain automation. Now, over time, if you're A/B testing, you learn what works best.
Give us an example of a test.
Over summer, for our pet food brand, we A/B tested the pop-up on the website, how people typically get into the database. All we tested was the heading, the thing that said, like, hey, this is why we want you to sign up. We tested 2 variations. 1, you tell people what the discount is. 2, you don't tell them, it's a mystery. You have to sign up to find out. The mystery one, it doubled the submit rate, which essentially doubled the revenue for that month for that particular automation, which was a dramatic impact.
What can our members and listeners help you with?
I'm looking to meet people that are in a similar boat in the sense that they've also been through the shit, have overcome, and are now killing it. So if there is anyone out there in the network that has either resonated with this story or they have a story that's similar of their own, I always up for meeting those people.
How can our members and listeners find you?
You can find us at fixate.co.uk.
And you personally?
LinkedIn, search Reese Harris, RHYS, or contact info@fixate.co.uk.
Reese, thank you so much for joining us on Work This Way. Thank you for your honesty. And I think a lot of members will be listening thinking, what's my thing? What's my craft that I can master and be the best at? So thanks for coming on, man. This episode of Work This Way by Foundry was hosted by myself, Adam Walker, edited by Josh Hall, and produced by Gary James. Next week, we have another fascinating member who was not brought up on a farm. That's diversity for you. Until next time.